shown no mercy, Paul. Well, you can tell how much fun they had in those relatively secure and safe VWs. Well, coming up, Formula Atlantic. I don't know if you could call this fun for the drivers, because anytime you get an open-wheeled race cars, there's always that element of danger. Earlier, Paul Page had a chance to take a really close-up look at one of these single-seat open-wheel cars.
Well, Steve, to my way of thinking, the Formula Atlantic is one super little race car, well suited to the task of going fast. Now, you can use this car either in the SCCA Club Series or in the HFC Pro Series, as we're seeing today. The chassis, the Ralt's about $27,500. The engine, $11,500. The engine is the Cosworth BDA. Now, that's using the same heads that exist in the IndyCar. It develops about 230 horsepower at 10,500 RPMs. The gearbox is the Hewlin RT200. 5 speeds forward, 1 in reverse. And it'll push this car to an upwards of 150 miles an hour. Now, often people ask, if you want to go open-wheel racing, where do you start and what do? You start in Formula Ford. And then, for my way of thinking, you come to Formula Atlantic and really learn how to go fast before moving up to Formula One or to the IndyCar.
Another thing these Formula Atlantic cars share in common with their big brothers, the Formula One machines, is a tire-blazing standing start. We'll see that when we come back. Stay with us here in Lime Rock.
The Battle Hymn of the Republic just may have been penned here in Hartford, Connecticut. This is the home of its writer, Harriet Beecher Stowe, early civil rights activist, supporter of the Underground Railroad. Great history in the state of Connecticut. Here, too, racing history in the northwest corner at Lime Rock Park, as the Formula Atlantic cars are lined up on their grid for their now famous standing start. And the 26 Formula cars roll out on their warm-up lap. That will bring the field back to the starting line. They will pull, they will drop the engine revs down, and then on with the red light, on with the green, and we'll be off and racing as the Formula Atlantic takes to the track at Lime Rock.
Everybody right now, Paul, just trying to heat up the transmissions, the drivetrains, put a little heat in the tires, make them sticky for that standing start to come.
It's a very tense moment, because if anyone makes any mistake at all, you can have a whole field of Formula Atlantic cars plowing into the back of your machine. Now, the pole sitter for this race is Mike Greenfield, one very fast racer. Earlier, he talked with Steve.
It's always a thrill for a driver to win a pole position, as Michael Greenfield has done in Formula Atlantic. But also, up front in Formula Atlantic gives you a little more of a secure feeling, because you're dealing with a standing start, and they can be tricky.
Yes, they are very tricky, and they're a crucial part of the race, no doubt about it. Being up front, you can just concentrate on the road in front of you. You don't have to worry about what the guys are doing in front of you, because you have a clear track. All I have to worry about is getting into the first corner first. Lime Rock is a very difficult place to pass, so the start is going to be crucial.
Good luck to you.
Thank you.
And there's another driver you might expect to find up front with Michael, but instead he's at the back of the pack for reasons that have absolutely nothing to do with his automobile.
Well, Steve, here's a man that definitely has his work cut out for him. Steve Shelton. Now, he saw his son graduate at Culver Academy over in Indiana from the summer camps there. So because of that, he didn't attend the practice, didn't attend the qualifying, and Steve, you're sitting dead last to start this race, and yet you really ought to be up toward the front.
Well, yeah, we've been on the pole at every race so far, so this will be a big contrast for me, be starting from the very back.
Standing start, have to work your way through the field. What's the tactic? How are you going to do it?
Well, the tactic at Lime Rock is you just have to take about every chance that's available, because there's no opportunity on a short, twisty track like this.
If you were to evaluate it, what are your chances of moving from this last position up to the checkered flag first?
Well, with guys like Greenfield and Fish, I'd say there'd be a slim chance of winning, unless there's a caution flag, in which case maybe we'll keep our fingers crossed.
All right, so Steve Shelton, a whale of a job ahead of him. Good luck. Thanks.
Well, actually, as we look at the grid, Steve Shelton in the number 3 car will not be dead last. There's 3 cars who had posted no qualifying times that have been put in behind him. So that's a little bit of a break. He's moved up 3 positions already. And here comes that standing start. They each have an appointed mark out there on the grid with officials telling them exactly where to line up. Now, as soon as the last car way at the back comes to a halt on his appointed mark, then just a few seconds, Paul, and we should see a green for go.
Now, during the start, we'll concentrate on that number 3 car. There it is, the black with yellow trim. That's Steve Shelton. And watch his movement during the start as we're ready to roll off with a standing start.
The field has settled in. The RPMs come up. Everybody winging the throttles. The red line is on. Now it is great. And look at Steve Shelton. The driver in front of him, Paul, hesitated, and Shelton took advantage of it.
So Shelton begins to work his way up through the field now, while at the front of the field it is Michael Greenfield. Leading Calvin Fish, Eric Lang, car 35, has dropped into 3rd place off of Big Bend toward the only left-hander on this course as they enter the S's, and Greenfield goes way wide coming off of the S's, but still he maintains his lead. And Shelton has really moved up. He's about 8 positions further forward than he started.
The first lap in any kind of open-wheeled racing, Paul, is always the scariest. When they're all bunched up, rubber can meet rubber and anything can happen. It appears so far anyway as they come over the climbing turn that everything's A-OK. A lot of good race car driving here.
These cars come up to speed very quickly from that standing start. The question, of course, is did they get the tires hot enough when they had the opportunity to warm them up on that warm-up lap? And look at the lead that Greenfield now has over Fish as we look at the fight for 3rd place. That blue and yellow car, number 35, that is Eric Lang. He's being chased by Thomas Knapp, John Thompson, and Charles Batka.
A year ago, Paul, we saw Peter Greenfield be so competitive in this race. Well, Peter has parked his car and is now coaching and crew chiefing for his son Michael in that 42 car that's leading this event. There in blue number 35, that's Eric Lang in the 3rd position. The red car behind him is Tom Knapp, number 11, number 22, the white car, John Thompson, all of those for 3rd. Now here is number 51, Russell Newman. He started 25th and he is now 19th. Steve Shelton hopes to be making that kind of progress as Russell Newman is.
And Newman is involved in a chase now on the 15 car of Ed Healy, running just ahead, that yellow machine, and the blue 90 car of Glenn Marikey, and the 33 red machine of Greg Nettle.
What a charge Russell Newman is putting on in that 51 car. The green and white machine. He just blows right by number 33, Greg Nettle, and picks up another one to move into the 17th spot. Remember now, Paul, yesterday, Newman was involved in a crash in qualifying to put him towards the back of the field, so this is semi-expected.
Well, that's what happens when you don't get a good qualifying run. You end up back at the field, but really inherently you're much faster than that. And so you move past those cars that would have been slower and finally seek the position that you would have had through qualifying. Car spins in the S's. That's the 90 machine, Glenn Marikey, as he backs it off the course and gets it safely out of the way. Car is still under power, and he will rejoin the circuit, though he may have done some damage to the nose of that car, bouncing over some of the dirt, getting back to the track. The 11 car, bright red, that's Thomas Knapp. He is in 4th place, being chased by the 22 machine, the white car, John Thompson, and the 6 car of Charles Batka.
And here goes that battle for the 4th position into Big Bend. You'll see a lot of passing all during the day in that particular corner. That's a favorite place to get that done. Well, Knapp has a firm hold on 3rd. Let's check on another car who was a bit of a story yesterday. That's the first of the 2 black machines there. Number 94, driven by John Temkin. He's in 8th spot. Just behind him is Paul Dollenbach from Basalt, Colorado. Anyway, about John Temkin. In qualifying yesterday, as happened to a few others, he got in some real trouble and did some damage to the automobile. Let's take a look at it. This was action in qualifying yesterday here at Lime Rock. John Temkin, the number 94 car, coming off of the diving turn, and suddenly something happens, hard to say what, throws the car into a spin, a full 360 degrees. John did everything possible to avoid that tire wall, but it was not to be. He got into it hard, throwing tires everywhere. Well, witness that he's in today's race. You know that that man was not done for the weekend. Paul Page, after the incident, had a look at the car.
Well, Steve, John Temkin is racing today because of a little bit of racing luck and an awful lot of very good design by the race car engineers. This is the way the suspension and hub carrier should look on the race car. But over here is the way John Temkin's hub carrier suspension looked after his accident. Now, the suspension is designed to do this. It's very soft. It permits the hub carrier and the wheel assembly to break loose from the car. When it does that, it gets this dangerous, heavy section away from the car and driver and releases a lot of injury. It breaks away clean from the car, keeping the tub intact and allowing the tub to protect the driver.
So some of that fragility is engineered into these cars, and there is John Temkin, number 94, running strongly in the 8th position.
Well, Steve, take a look at this, because now running in 12th is that number 3 car, Steve Shelton. He started 23rd. He's moved up 11 positions just in this short distance and is now knocking on the back door of Paul Natchway in the 88 car and Scott Harrington in the green car, currently running 10th, and he's just about to do battle with those machines.
Oh, he has just mounted a tremendous assault, Paul. He got a little fortunate at the start when the field seemed to hesitate instead of everybody dropping the clutch at the same time. And you recall he pulled right to the outside and picked off about 6 of them instantaneously. And Shelton told you earlier that at Lime Rock here it means throwing caution to the wind. Look at the speed there, 137 miles an hour on car number 3 as he blitzes his way towards the front.
So Steve Shelton gets around the 88 machine, Paul Natchway, and now is ready to take on Scott Harrington in a battle for 10th place. Now, Shelton got some advantages on the start itself. I'm not so sure he didn't walk up and down the grid and say, watch your mirrors, pal, because I'm really going to be coming through.
And Shelton, Paul, in fact, did have a little practice. He was here on Tuesday before he took off for Indiana and that graduation of his son. So he did have a little time in the racetrack to at least get the car sorted out, but no qualifying time, which is why he started towards the back.
And, of course, the problem with being at an early practice and then coming back for the race is that you don't know how the track has changed. A lot of cars have traveled over this surface, and in doing so, they've laid down a lot of oil and a lot of rubber and changed the surface. But that's not slowing Shelton down. Look at this. He just blows off Scott Harrington and picks up 10th place.
And here's a pair that may soon have Steve Shelton knocking on their rear wing. Running in 4th, number 11, the red car, Tom Knapp, followed by 22, John Thompson. The Formula Atlantic's putting on a tremendous show here at Lime Rock today, particularly up front with Greenfield, and now moving into the 10th position, Steve Shelton. But the further up in the field Steve Shelton goes, he meets tougher competitors like Tom Knapp. They won't be quite as easy to pass. We'll be back with more from Lime Rock, the HFC Formula Atlantic Pro Series.
Now better. In Hartford, Connecticut, the view from historic Meeting House Square is one of a vital, growing city. Modern architecture blended with the historic old buildings of Connecticut. We're in the northwest corner of the state at Lime Rock Park, where Michael Greenfield is leading Calvin Fish right behind the pace car. We have a full course yellow because the 21 car of Paul Poor has stalled in Big Ben, and they need to pull a wrecker out and get it away from an unsafe position. Without volunteers, these races would never take place, and earlier, Steve met with a group of the corner workers at Lime Rock.
Paul, I'm down inside turn number 1 to admire the work of the Sports Car Club of America's flagging and communications people. And down here in this very busy turn, it takes a total of 5 individuals. With the passing flag there, should it be needed, and it often is, that is Stu Cowett. He's a commercial loan officer from Hicksville, New York. Now, the big man in the hat with the yellow flag to warn of impending danger, he is a BMW salesman from Danbury, Connecticut, by the name of Al Cropley. Now, here's the man with the most experience. He's the captain of the team here. That is Daryl Anthony, a test engineer from New Milford, New Jersey. Now, on the communications link, he can talk to anyone around this racetrack and the stewards. Bill Stiles, real estate salesman from Allentown, Pennsylvania. Now, a girl with a very important job, that is Joyce Silkowski, and she is the runner. Joyce is a personnel assistant from right here in Connecticut. Now, should there be an upset, a spin, or anything where someone has to run out and aid the driver, it's Joyce that'll do that. She can fire the onboard fire extinguisher or shut off the external electrics. All of these people have been schooled in the classroom and on site to be licensed by SCCA for their individual responsibilities.
And they've got some of the best views on the course. Would you like to join as a corner worker or a driver, the Sports Car Club of America? Well, there's the number for you. We've been watching Michael Greenfield move around the circuit, and as they go for the restart, the question is Calvin Fish. He doesn't seem to be performing as well as we've expected, but here's the green flag. Fish comes to the outside, tries to get Greenfield.
They qualified with near identical times, Paul, and you're right that Greenfield has been able to run away from Fish is surprising, and it appears right now that he's going to do that again. So let's interval back to the 10th spot And that's number 3, the black car driven by Steve Shelton, who started in 23rd, now up into 10th, and he is trying to pick up the 9th place driver. That is number 27, Paul Dallenbach. The black car, he is in the 9th spot.
Dallenbach, from another one of those great racing families. His father, Wally Dallenbach, winner of an Ontario 500, and his brother, of course, is Wally Dallenbach Jr. of Trans Am and IMSA fame. But Dallenbach now tries to hold off Shelton, as Shelton, with a whole gaggle of cars in front of him, works to the inside of traffic and tries to pick up Dallenbach. They bump, they touch one another, and Dallenbach spins off the course. Couldn't tell in the dust. It didn't look like Dallenbach got into the barrier, but still, Steve Shelton now is able to move forward.
Indeed he does. Dallenbach driving his first Atlantic race of the year. He ran most of the series last season. Maybe a little of that practice or lack of practice showing right there. But how about Shelton? He is intimidated by nobody. And the next to feel his sting may be called Paul Carrazzo, the number 32 car. He is currently 21st. He's a lap down. That is one of the flat-bottom cars without the ground effects and some hand signals there. Carrazzo is trying to find a place where he can wave him by. He doesn't want to hold him up.
Carrazzo really would like to see Shelton get around him so he can concentrate on his race. It's not great when you have, and there you see the thank you, he finally got past when Carrazzo turned all the way out of the line. It's not a comfortable position when you know you're a slower car and you have one of the real fast shoes coming up behind you. So now Shelton has clear traffic ahead and has some distance to make up before he can engage in yet another dogfight.
He is just so cool and so calculating. He has not really taken what I would call a dangerous pass. Would you, Paul? He's taken every opportunity that's been given to him. But you know, the last time that we checked in on car number 94, John Temkin, who crashed yesterday at Qualify, he was in the 8th position. He has now moved all the way up to 5th in just a few short laps. And just in front of him is the 4th place runner, number 11, Tom Knapp. So he's making wonderful progress here.
And while we watch that battle for 4th, look at this, 136 miles an hour. That's what the radar gun says for the 22 car of John Thompson. He runs in 6th place. Back to that battle for 4th again. Thomas Knapp, that's the red machine, number 11. And right behind him is Timken. So Timken is on the fly as well. It's really too bad that Shelton and Timken suffered their different problems. Shelton with a scheduling conflict and Timken with an accident, because if they had started in the front, I think we would have seen a whale of a battle at the front of this field.
Well, put Russ Newman in that category as well, Paul, who's charging up to the field, and you'd have had probably a 5-way go up front. There is Tom Knapp in the 11th car. He's been doing a great job of holding on to that 4th position, the pretty little red race car. They can't actually here at Lime Rock gear these cars for the top speed they're capable of well over 150 miles per hour.
Let's look back now. This is the number 6 car. That's Charles Batka, and he is currently running in 7th place. So he is unchallenged in 7th at the moment. Back in 8th position, number 93, Glenn Taylor occupies it, but there's Steve Shelton, and he's getting ready to set Taylor up. Can he do it in Big Bend? He closes down just a little bit. The passing turn seems to be the left-hander that is the beginning to the S's. Taylor currently occupying 8th place. Steve Shelton would love to have it. They work their way through the S's. Shelton doesn't seem to be able to close that much on Taylor. Taylor accelerates now. Shelton close up just a bit behind him. Still, he doesn't have him. The interval remains about the same. The battle is for 8th place. Steve Shelton, who started 23rd, now tries to get 8th place. And he will only do it if Glenn Taylor goes along with it. One car runs off the edge of the course. A wrecker is there, so caution flags fly in that area. No passing permitted while they move through there. Back to the main stretch once again. Can Shelton do it here? He comes to the inside. Glenn Taylor tries to hold him off, can't do it at all. Superior acceleration, good exit from the last corner, and Steve Shelton is now 8th. So can Steve Shelton continue to pick other cars off at the rate he has been? If he can, then maybe he can get back up to the front of the field and do battle with this man, Michael Greenfield. Greenfield has been unchallenged since the start of this race. We expected a challenge from Fish. It has not materialized. Let's go down to the pits now, where it's relatively quiet with Steve Evans. Steve?
This is a typical pit setup for a Formula Atlantic car. Not much stuff, huh? Well, due to the fragile nature of these cars, if they make any serious kind of contact on the course, the chances of them even getting back to the pits before the race is over is pretty slim. So what you'll see just about every pit are tires, because they may cut one down, lose air pressure, be able to dash in, get a tire, and maintain some kind of position. Also, you'll find in most of the pits a fiberglass nose piece. If they just happen to tick another car, they can come in and pick that up. But I tell you, if the car comes in marked number 42, I may have to fix it myself, because there's nobody else around.
and I wouldn't let Steve Evans work on my skateboard. Here's the leader, Michael Greenfield from Manhasset, New York. He has remained unchallenged from the green flag. We'll be back with more of the HFC Pro Series from Lime Rock right after this.
Association.
Reflected in that beautiful glass office building is the First Church of Christ here in downtown Hartford, Connecticut, built back in 1807. The contrasts are many in this beautiful capital city, the state of Connecticut. And the contrast right now here at Lime Rock Park, Paul Page, is pretty sensational among these Foamy Atlantic cars as well. Russell Newman, who started way back, has moved all the way up to 14.
Newman, the Bartlett, Illinois driver, started in 25th place. So he is now up 11 positions from his starting place. Again, he started this race with no qualifying time at all. Too bad that he, like Shelton, didn't have a good qualifying time. But his car is as sophisticated as any.
With a fiberglass skin stripped off of Russ Newman's number 51 Ralt, we can see that these Formula Atlantic cars are of monocoque construction, exactly like Indianapolis cars, European Formula cars, airplanes for that matter. And that simply means stress-bearing panels combined into a single unit using rivets and also bonding. Now, it's these rounded edges that actually give the tub section of the automobile its strength. Now, Russ has about as much room in here as a guy would on a kayak. And to protect his feet at the very nose of the car is a heavy aluminum bulkhead. Now, just between his legs, that canister there, that's the onboard fire extinguisher system. Controls are pretty simple. Rear sway bar, front sway bar, brake bias over here, and a shifter for the 5-speed transmission. Oh, and of course, the steering wheel.
And of course, the dash console and instrumentation designed so the driver never has to take his hand off of the steering wheel. Steve Shelton now challenges Charles Batka in that number 6 car, and the fight is for 7th place. Shelton continues his charge up through this field. Batka is his next target. And if it goes as it has been with every other challenge, very shortly, Shelton will make short work of Batka, move into 7th place, and continue his charge for the lead. For the moment, Shelton lies just back a bit. Yellow flag still flying for that disabled car as they come into the diving turn, and now on to the main stretch. Here is where Shelton has done most of his passing. He comes to the inside of Batka again, 132 miles an hour as they come past the radar gun, and Shelton has now picked up 7th place. So his march up the field continues.
Well, Tom Knapp in the red number 11 car, he's gotten very possessive about 4th place, holding on to it tenaciously. 94 John Timken has been trying to wrestle it away from him lap after lap, but no cigar. In fact, he can't even make up any distance at all now. Tom Knapp driving the wheels off that 11 machine.
John Timken, local driver from nearby Old Slaybrook, Connecticut, started in 5th place and hopes that he can still pick up a couple of positions here as he tries to engage the 11 car of Thomas Knapp. But Knapp, at the moment, has 4th and is without challenge here. Michael Greenfield still out in front and still unchallenged by Calvin Fish, which is a bit of a surprise.
Back in the 6th position, Paul, is the number 22 car. That is John Thompson, a sleek, white ground effects machine. A young guy, really keeping his cool here today. Learning a lot, I'm sure. He has not had all that much experience in Formula Atlantic. He looks like a promising newcomer.
He makes an interesting transition from midgets into the Formula Atlantic car. Both open wheel, but the midgets closely competing all the time, hacking on each other's doors. Now he makes a transition to high-velocity rear engine, so he's going to have a wealth of experience when he wants to move up to a higher class. And on the main stretch, he begins to close down on the 5th place car. That's the 94 machine of John Timken.
John Thompson, the 22 car, Paul, you mentioned midgets, and that has been his past history, but not even full-size midgets, the 3/4 brand, so he's really made a leap.
Certainly a jump in terminal velocity. You're talking cars here in the Formula Atlantic that give them an open course, and they'll run above 150 miles an hour, though here on the rather tight, close 1.53 miles of Lime Rock, they get around here with a top speed, fast guys about 137 miles an hour. So we continue to watch Thompson as he chases Timken, and Timken in the 94 machine is certainly now aware that he's there, and also aware that that closure occurred within about a lap and a half. On to the main stretch now. Can Timken hold him off here? They are closing on some slower cars. That will be an influence on this first corner, the Big Bend. Timken is able to maintain his lead there, maintain his interval. Still slower cars just ahead. That's the 37 machine. Robert Caneda just ahead of Timken. Timken closes in behind him. They are in the S's now, and Thompson gets another advantage because Timken is slowed up just a little bit by the Caneda car. Now they are lined up one behind the other. Caneda sees them, allows them both pass, though forces Timken off of the line into the inside. Thompson gets around Caneda as well, and the fight continues. The battle is for 5th place as Timken tries to hold off John Thompson through a faster section of the course now. And we're seeing some great fighting in the HFC Formula Atlantic Pro Series. We'll be back with more right after these messages.
As happens in Major League Automobile racing, sometimes to find the best races, you've got to look back a little ways. Michael Greenfield, Calvin Fish, Eric Lang, they have run up front all day long since the green flag. But some of the races behind them, the example for that 4th place between number 11, Thomas Knapp, and number 94, John Timken, have been absolutely sensational. And, of course, the charge from the back by Steve Shelton has had everybody on their toes.
Well, the fight for the moment is at wide interval. Thomas Knapp, the red number 11, is running out in front of these two cars. This is the fight for 5th place. Timken and Thompson. John Timken in number 94. John Thompson, that white number 22. And Thompson set up just behind Timken. And he's been watching him now for several laps. As we look back from this battle for 5th to this car. This is the 7th place machine. Steve Shelton, remember, he started 23rd. We look back forward now. The fight for 5th place as Thompson closes down again. Just a few inches, maybe as much as a foot on John Timken, but that's all that's needed. Set the car in position so that you can attack.
And we're in the final laps of this 50-miler, so if anybody's going to make any progress, they better start thinking about it right now. And as you said, Paul, it is Thompson and Timken, and here is Thompson trying to pass on the inside, and he looks like he's going to make it happen.
Well, Timken moves to the outside, Thompson to the inside. They head into Big Bend, and Thompson gets it off the course, yanks it back on, loses it again, slides sideways, coming off of the decreasing radius Big Bend, and John Timken runs all alone, but Thompson has the engine under power, and Thompson comes back on the course.
Well, when Thompson tried that inside line, Timken said, hey, look, I've got the line here, and I'm not going to give it up. It was simple as that. He just protected his turf. Let's take a look at it one more time.
Well, he's already bounced off the inside at this point, loses control, slides across the outside of Big Bend, and bounces across the grass. Now, he's done a smart thing. He has his wheels totally locked up. He's trying to steer the car backwards. Now, finally, he takes his foot off the brake, hits the clutch in, and keeps the car going. Now, let's watch in the corner of the picture to see who may come past. Look at there. Steve Shelton, as he now takes advantage of this and moves up one position. But this is the 5th place driver all alone now, John Timken, and he will shortly have to handle up the challenge of Steve Shelton. Now, last year in this Pro Series, it was dominated by foreign drivers. The champion, Scott Goodyear, a Canadian. The runner-up, Calvin Fish, comes from the United Kingdom. And Steve Shelton was the highest finishing American. He would really like to move up a couple of positions in the overall point standings this year. Well, back in the pits, it seems that Steve Evans finally has found Michael Greenfield's crew.
Well, so far, the Greenfield crew out here on the wall enjoying this day immensely as the race is going exactly as you'd planned. Looks perfect so far.
Yeah, we're running on record pace. We've had us a couple excellent breaks in traffic. We couldn't ask for a better day so far. But the race isn't over.
Oh, they never are until that final lap. Looks like right now he's taking a little more cautious approach to the lap traffic.
Well, like I said, we're running on record time. He is being a little careful, but he's going very fast.
Okay, continued success.
Thank you.
Well, Greenfield is fast and first, but not spectacular. He is unchallenged. The real story is this man, Steve Shelton, running in 6th. So Steve Shelton working his way up through this field, starting 23rd, working his way carefully, quickly, past every car. The question now, Are there enough laps in this race? Is there enough time for Shelton to make it to the front of the field? And while he runs so quickly, Michael Greenfield is laying down record and near-record laps with every turn of the wheel.
And just in front of Steve Shelton, in fact, further in front of him than Shelton would like, is John Timken. He holds down that 5th position, the one that Shelton right now so desperately wants. But as I said earlier, they just get tougher. Oh, and look at this. That is going to give Shelton a position because Tom Knapp in the 11 car had some problems, and he was stranded in the middle of the racetrack. Shelton, you got another one.
Knapp was running in 4th place. At the time he slowed down, he pulls by the side, and so Shelton, with no effort of his own, moves forward 1 position. What a terrible blow to Thomas Knapp, who really had a good race going, did battle with quite a few, held off, maintained 4th place, and then finally the car failed him.
Oh, yeah, Paul, he had a great afternoon as far as his driving was concerned. His equipment let him down, apparently, here very close to the end. And there is Steve Shelton as that story continues, and one I'm sure that this man, Tom Knapp, will be interested in now that he is no longer a player.
Well, Steve Shelton really picked up a tremendous advantage when Tom Knapp pulled by the wayside. There is Shelton as he roars past, and Steve Knapp should be just ahead. There Shelton comes fast and actually physically picks up the position at that point. So Shelton picks up the advantage as a result of bad luck for Thomas Knapp. He now is running in 5th place.
But there's a lot of that black macadam between he and that 4th place runner, Paul. This is going to be awfully tough for Shelton as there's only a few laps to go. In fact, this is the next to last lap. And right now, running up front, Michael Greenfield has got to feel very fortunate that this man was unable to attend the qualifying session. Not to say that Greenfield still wouldn't have won it because he has run so very, very quick. Oh, there is the number 15 car, Ed Healy. Ed is hoping nobody T-bones him as he's parked right in the middle of the big bend.
Well, Steve Shelton, the key player in this race, hopes that he can simply make it now the lap and a half or so that he has ahead to the checkered flag. Here's the leader, Michael Greenfield, with now just 1 lap to go to victory. This is a car they use like so many other racers now, the advantage of computers to tell them what the suspension has done and how they can get more horsepower out of the engine. Onboard computer systems help them in their practice. It's obviously worked very well here. He has not been challenged, surprisingly enough, by Calvin Fish. Runs all alone in the lead on the last lap.
You know, with the engine's also very similar, Paul, because of restrictions. They run on a spec tire. Everybody has the same rubber. Chassis setup can be the big difference. A driver fitting perfectly being one with the automobile. And here at Lime Rock, with all of the right-hand turns, only 1 left, really, you can actually run a little stagger in the car, even different sized tires on one side where it inherently wants to turn right. Well, down on the pit wall, you can bet that Peter Greenfield and that crew plenty excited as they, for the last time, see Michael go by, and this time it's under the checkered flag. Yes, sir, what a day.
So Michael Greenfield has won the HFC Pro Series Formula Atlantic, and here's the man we've been watching throughout the afternoon on his final lap as he turns for the final set of turns at Lime Rock Park. He started in 23rd. He runs in 5th through the downhill, makes the turn for the main stretch, and Steve Shelton comes home in 5th place. The day belongs, though, to Michael Greenfield. We'll be back to talk with both men in just a
sure winner of the week.
Well, the race has been run at Lime Rock Park, and Greenfield wins from green to checkered, followed by Fish, Lang, Timken, and Shelton, moving up from 23rd place. In the bottom half of the top 10, John Thompson with a good run, followed by Opperman, Harrington, Natchway, and a great race for Russell Newman. But the winner of the day is Michael Greenfield with one very smooth victory.
Well, for Michael Greenfield, today's race appeared to be a walk in the Lime Rock Park. Was it as trouble-free as it appeared?
No, it certainly wasn't. Let me tell you something. We came up on traffic real early in the race, much earlier than I suspected, but I managed to get through it. No problems at all. The flag marshals did a great job of getting me through, and the guys were really they just did a great job of waving me by. No problems.
When I was talking to your crew, they kept saying record times, record times. They were really thrilled with your driving and the lap times that resulted.
Well, they weren't giving me any times. At least I didn't notice. I was only watching the laps to go and the traffic in front of me, but I certainly hope I set a new lap record.
I think you probably did. Congratulations. You won it all today and beautifully.
Thank you. And I'd also like to thank my dad, Don Sneeders, and Timmy Albright for doing a great job prepping my car this weekend.
Okay, well said. All right, Paul, here's what the second place finisher.
Well, Steve, here we go. Second place, but Cal, you're second with a whale of a problem here.
Yeah, we
Michael and I got together down in the first turn on the first start, and I'm not sure whether that was what caused it or what, but obviously caused a lot of problems with the HFC car today, and disappointing, but I was glad. I was lucky that Lime Rock was all right-hand turns, because this doesn't play a big part around here. It was just in the left-hander, and it made it very unstable under braking, so we're fortunate we were driving at Lime Rock today and got a puncture in the right rear, but we're okay at second. It's good points in the championship, so I'm not too disappointed.
Still pretty amazing that you can keep up on a circuit as tight and fast as this can be with a right rear down.
Yeah, it was, you know, it happened real early. I couldn't get the car to turn in at all in the left-hand turn, and I thought, you know, maybe it was just a slick track. We went for low downforce today to have the straightaway speed, and so I thought maybe we just made a mistake on the gamble for the setup, and I think this was what was causing it all the way through, so it was gradually losing pressure and didn't go completely flat, so we were lucky with that.
Sterling effort. Cal, thank you very much. Now, that story starting all the way in the back and coming up to 5th place. Let's go to Steve Evans.
Well, Paul, here's a man who probably worked harder than anybody else today. Steve Shelton from 23rd to 5th.
Well, I feel good about that. I think it might not have been quite that good had we not had a pace car out there. And on the restart, I had gotten into a little trouble with bent the front suspension there, so that was a bit of a handicap.
Well, all in all, you put on quite a show for us. You just picked him off consistently.
Well, Stuart Moore at Gibraltar was just perfect. I mean, what can I say?
Indeed. Thanks.
Well, it's been a great afternoon in Connecticut with both the Volkswagen Golf and with the Formula Atlantic. Paul Page for Steve Evans. So long from Lime Rock.
The executive producer for American Sports Cavalcade is Harvey M. Palish. Produced and directed by John B. Mullen. Promotional consideration provided for and a fee paid by the Style Auto World Championship Team, the nation's premier source of fast lane fashions. Style Auto, the champion's choice for the style of your life. The American Sports Cavalcade is a presentation of Diamond P Sports.